Welcome to Peak Analytics.
Today, we're embarking on a profound journey to celebrate the extraordinary life of Alfred Brendel, a towering figure in classical music captivated the world with his intellectual rigor, poetic sensitivity, and unparalleled interpretations of Beethoven, Mozart, Schubert, and Haydn. Known for his analytical yet soul-stirring performances, razor-sharp wit, and deep engagement with philosophy and art, Brendel was more than a pianist. He was a cultural luminary whose influence spanned over 7 decades. His passing on June 17, 2025, the music community reeling, but his legacy as a beacon of artistry and humanity shines brighter than ever. We're diving deep into Alfred Brendel's cause of death, age, wife, family, net worth, lifestyle, and biography, crafting a rich, heartfelt tribute to a man whose music and ideas continue to inspire. So, settle in for an immersive exploration, hit that like button, and let's honor a true maestro. Don't forget to share and subscribe to keep celebrating legends like Alfred. Let's begin with the somber news of Alfred Brendel's cause of death, a loss that has cast a quiet shadow over the classical music world. On June 17, 2025, Brendel passed away peacefully at his home in London at the remarkable age of 94, surrounded by his loved ones, as announced in a family statement shared through his spokesman. No specific cause of death was disclosed, a choice that aligns with Brendel's lifelong preference for privacy, but given his advanced age, it's reasonable to assume he died of natural causes related to aging. In his later years, Brendel faced health challenges, including back issues that prompted his retirement from public performances in 2008 and acute hearing loss that affected his ability to fully engage with music, as he shared in a 2021 DW interview. Despite these setbacks, he remained remarkably active, delivering lectures, writing poetry, and mentoring young musicians well into his 90s. His spokesman highlighted Brendel's modesty and self-critical nature, qualities that endeared him to peers and fans alike. Tributes flooded in from luminaries like cellist Stephen E. Sirlis, who described him on X as a beacon of civilization, and pianist Mitsuko Uchida, who praised his uncompromising integrity. X posts from users like at AFP, at T. Stefanovic, and at Wigmore_Hall echoed global grief, with fans sharing clips of his Schubert sonatas and witty interviews. The absence of a stated cause shifts focus to his monumental contributions, respecting his wish to let his music speak loudest. The classical community, from Vienna to New York, mourns a giant whose presence feels irreplaceable. Alfred Brendel was 94 years old at the time of his death, born on January 5, 1931, in Wiesenberg, Czechoslovakia, now Lukna nad Desnou, Czech Republic. A small Moravian village that set the stage for his unique journey. His age made him one of the longest-living pianists of his era, outlasting contemporaries like Daniel Barenboim and Maurizio Pollini, with a career that stretched from his teenage debut to his retirement at 77, followed by decades of intellectual output. As a Capricorn, Brendel embodied the sign's discipline, ambition, and introspective depth evident in his meticulous approach to music and his lifelong quest for artistic truth. His longevity was remarkable not just in years but in impact. He remained a vital voice in classical music, giving lectures at Oxford and Juilliard, publishing poetry, and mentoring talents like Kit Armstrong into his 90s. Ex-users, like at James Zimmerman, marveled at his self-taught ascent, noting, he had no musical family, yet became a legend by 50 and kept creating for 44 more years. Brendel's age amplified his legacy, offering a rare perspective on music's evolution from post-war austerity to the digital age. His reflections on aging, shared in Music, Sense and Nonsense, 2015, revealed a man who embraced life's limits with humor, writing, "Old age is not for sissies, but it's a privilege to keep learning." Brendel's personal life was marked by 2 marriages and a later partnership, each reflecting his private yet reflective nature. His first marriage was to Iris Haymungunzala in 1960, a union that produced 1 daughter, Doris Brendel, now a singer-songwriter known for her rock and blues work. The marriage ended in divorce in 1972, a period Brendel later described with regret. In a 2008 Guardian interview, he publicly apologized to Iris, saying, I was not a good husband, a rare glimpse into his self-awareness. In 1975, Brendel married his second wife, Irene Semler, and they had 3 children. Adrian, a cellist who collaborated with his father on Beethoven's cello sonatas, Sophie, who pursued a non-public life, and Katerina, also private. This marriage, too, ended in divorce, though Irene remained in London, where Brendel had settled in 1971. At the time of his death, Brendel was with his long-term partner, Maria Majno, a relationship that brought him companionship in his final years. Maria, along with his 4 children and 4 grandchildren, survived him. Brendel was famously reserved about his personal life, focusing interviews on music or philosophy, but his bond with Adrian stood out, their joint performances showcasing a musical dialogue between generations. Posts after his passing, like those from It Slipped Disc, focused on his artistry, respecting his family's privacy, though his children's statement expressed gratitude for his universal resonance, hinting at their pride in his global impact. Brendel's family background was distinctly non-musical, a fact he often cited as pivotal to his autodidactic path. Born to Ida Wildschnig and Albert Brendel, an architectural engineer turned businessman, Alfred grew up in a household devoid of artistic tradition. His father's varied career, managing a hotel in KRK, Yugoslavia, a cinema in Zagreb, and later a petrol station in Graz, Austria, led to a nomadic childhood, moving between Yugoslavia and Austria. His mother, Ida, was supportive but not musically inclined, and Brendel's early exposure to piano came through neighbors and chance encounters. He described his parents in the New York Times as kind but unmusical, crediting their lack of influence for his independence. His diverse ancestry, German, Austrian, Italian, and Slavic, gave him a cosmopolitan outlook, reflected in his comment to DW in 2021, "I'm not somebody who looks for roots, I belong to the world." His children, especially Adrian, inherited his creative spark, with Adrian's cello career extending the Brendel musical legacy. His 4 grandchildren, kept out of the public eye, were a source of joy in his later years. Brendel's family, though not his artistic origin, became his anchor, and their statement after his death celebrated his ability to connect souls through music. Alfred Brendel's net worth was estimated at $1 million to $5 million as of 2023, a range likely unchanged at his death due to his retirement and focus on non-commercial pursuits like poetry and teaching. His wealth was amassed through a prolific career that balanced performance, recording, and writing. Brendel's early recordings for Vox, including the first complete set of Beethoven's piano works in the 1960s, won a Grand Prix du Disque in 1965, establishing him as a recording pioneer. His long tenure with Philips produced definitive cycles of Beethoven's sonatas, recorded 3 times. Mozart's concertos, Schubert's sonatas, and Brahms' works, revitalizing these repertoires for modern audiences. Concert tours across Europe, North America, Japan, and Australia, often with elite orchestras like the Vienna, Berlin, and London Philharmonics, commanded high fees, especially during his peak in the 1970s and 1980s. His books, including Musical Thoughts and Afterthoughts, 1976, Music Sounded Out, 1990, and Music, Sense and Nonsense, 2015, were critical successes but modest earners, as were his poetry collections like One Finger Too Many, 1998, and Playing the Human Game, 2010. Master classes at prestigious institutions and lecture series at Cambridge and Oxford added to his income post-retirement. Awards like the Premium Imperiale, 2009, with a $150,000 prize, the Lyon Sonning Music Prize, 2002, and an honorary knighthood, 1989, enhanced his prestige but contributed little financially. Brendel lived comfortably in London but shunned extravagance, investing in his art collection and intellectual pursuits rather than lavish spending. Brendel's lifestyle was a fascinating blend of intellectual discipline, artistic passion, and eccentric charm. Since settling in London's Hampstead in 1971, he lived in a home filled with cultural treasures, books on philosophy, literature, and art, primitive masks from Africa and Oceania, and a quirky collection of newspaper misprints and kitsch objects, reflecting his love for the absurd. His Hampstead residence, described on his website as a haven of ideas, hosted intellectuals like philosopher Bernard Williams and poets like Hans Magnus Enzensberger, creating a salon-like atmosphere. In his performing years, Brendel practiced piano for hours daily, often analyzing scores with a scholar's precision. As he told the New York Times in 1983, "I play to understand, not to impress." After retiring in 2008, he shifted to writing, lecturing, and reading, immersing himself in Goethe, Kafka, and Dadaist art, which fueled his poetry. He avoided smoking, humorously calling it a guilty pleasure to keep smokers out of his house in a 2008 Guardian interview, and maintained a simple diet, joking about his love for Viennese pastries. Brendel's cultural outings included visits to the British Museum, Tate Gallery, and West End theatres, nourishing his interdisciplinary mind. Despite back pain and hearing loss, he traveled for master classes in Vienna, New York, and Tokyo into his 90s, driven by a mission to mentor young pianists like Paul Lewis and Till Fellner. Ex-fans, like at MLQ3, shared clips of his lectures, praising his wit sharper than his trills. His philosophy, "Humor is the sublime in reverse," infused his life, balancing profound music with playful irreverence. Now, let's immerse ourselves in Alfred Brendel's biography, a story of self-discovery, resilience, and musical transcendence. Born on January 5, 1931, in Wiesenberg, Czechoslovakia, to non-musical parents, Brendel's early life was shaped by movement and upheaval. At 3, his family relocated to Zagreb, Yugoslavia, where his father managed a cinema, exposing young Alfred to diverse cultures. By 6, he began piano lessons with Sofia Dzelik, showing early promise. World War II brought further disruption, with the family moving to Graz, Austria, in 1941, where Brendel studied at the Graz Conservatory, 1943 to 1947, under Ludovica von Kahn, and took composition lessons with Artur Mikl. At 14, he was briefly conscripted to dig trenches in Yugoslavia but escaped due to frostbite, a harrowing experience that strengthened his resolve. Largely self-taught after 16, Brendel sought out master classes with Edwin Fischer, whose blend of passion and structure became his North Star, and Eduard Stuermann, who introduced him to Schoenberg's modernism. At 17, Brendel debuted in Graz in 1948 with a recital titled The Fugue in Piano Literature, featuring Bach, Brahms, Liszt, and his own sonata, a bold statement of his intellectual curiosity. In 1949, he won 4th prize at the Ferruccio Busoni piano competition in Bolzano, Italy, earning invitations to tour Europe and Latin America. His 1950 recording of Prokofiev's Piano Concerto No. 5 for Vox marked his entry into the recording world, followed by the 1952 world premiere of Liszt's rediscovered Weihnachtsbaum Suite. Signing with Vox in the 1950s, Brendel achieved a milestone by recording Beethoven's complete piano works, the first pianist to do so, a feat that won a Grand Prix du Disque in 1965. His move to Philips in the 1970s produced landmark recordings of Mozart's concertos, Schubert's late sonatas, and Brahms' piano works, earning him gramophone awards and global acclaim. His 1970 recital at London's Queen Elizabeth Hall, featuring Beethoven's De Belli Variations, drew major label attention, solidifying his status as a leading pianist. Brendel's repertoire focused on the Austro-German classics, Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, and Brahms, with forays into Liszt and Schoenberg's piano concerto, which he championed. He avoided Chopin, Rachmaninoff, and most modern music, prioritizing depth over breadth, as he explained in Alfred Brendel on Music, 2000. "I play what I can serve best." His performances with orchestras like the Vienna Philharmonic, which granted him honorary membership in 1998, and conductors like Claudio Abbado and Sir Simon Rattle were legendary. His 1983 Carnegie Hall cycles of Beethoven's 32 sonatas drew intellectuals like Susan Sontag, who wrote in The New Yorker of his transformative clarity. Brendel's 1990s Schubert recitals, particularly the late sonatas, redefined their emotional scope, earning comparisons to Wilhelm Kempff. Brendel retired from public performance on December 18, 2008, in Vienna, playing Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 9 with the Vienna Philharmonic under Sir Charles Mackerras, a concert broadcast worldwide. Post-retirement, he turned to teaching, lecturing at Juilliard, Cambridge, and Oxford, and mentoring pianists like Paul Lewis, Till Fellner, and Kit Armstrong, who dedicated compositions to him. His essays, collected in Alfred Brendel on Music, 2000, explored musical structure and interpretation, while his poetry, In One Finger Too Many, 1998, and Playing the Human Game, 2010, blended surrealism and humor. Brendel's honors were vast. 23 honorary degrees, the Hans von Bülow Medal, the Ernst von Siemens Music Prize, 1981, the Lion-Sonning Music Prize, 2002, the Premium Imperiale, 2009, and Echo Classics Lifetime Achievement Award, 2016. His honorary KBE, 1989, and Austrian Cross of Honor, 2001, recognized his global impact. Brendel's legacy is his fusion of intellect, emotion, and humor, illuminating classical music's timeless depths. His recordings remain benchmarks, his writings guide scholars, and his mentorship shapes future artists. Share your favorite Brendel moment in the comments, his Beethoven Dobelli variations? His mischievous poetry? Hit like, share this tribute, and subscribe for more stories about legends like Alfred. Rest in peace, Alfred Brendel, your music echoes eternally.